Now, this concept of everything being God, down to the chair that you and I are probably sitting in right now. It's been said for throughout many different belief systems that, all is God, God is all. There's nothing outside the realm of creation. Now, if we say all is God, sometimes some people use examples that confuses people when we make that statement. And let me give you an example. Let's just use an example of, just us incarnated down here as what we quote unquote call black people. Some will say, well, if all is God, what about this? They'll use a example like, what about the slave owners that cut the pregnant black woman's stomach open and stomp the baby like grape juice? Why would God allow somebody to use the force of I am, or this etheric force that we're all using to manifest, to commit such deeds? Why will God allow something like that to happen if all is God?
Again, we keep limiting God to the acts of imperfected entities. Once you've done that, then you ask, why is God doing certain A, B, and a third? God has nothing to do with what these actions are, though God is a part of these actions. The aspect of what God is just let's look at God as a utility. God is simply the machine. God is simply the energy. Whatever it is that it takes on, whatever actions, it's all based in experience. Understand that everything in the physical realm is based in experience. No matter what it is, no matter how horrific, no matter how beautiful, it's all experience. Because the thing that is being crushed, and I know this sounds heartless, it sounds like it's disconnected, it sounds like, okay, this man is just giving up and we ain't into the revolution anymore, he's getting us distracted. No, I'm talking about something that is beyond that. If you want to have revolution, pick up the gun and go have your revolution. I'm down with it. If that's you, then go do your thing. But what we're speaking about is resurrected way beyond that. This is what the priesthood, this is what the higher adepts spoke on. There is nothing else except experience. However you choose to have it, whether you are at the giving end or the receiving end, it's still the same thing. It is the one experience, the one that is experiencing doing it and the one that is experiencing having it done. The thing that is being done to, or the instrument or machinery that's doing it to you, these things are temporal. They don't really exist. What exists is the spark. It keeps the memory. So then what you know after you raise yourself above this particular game, this arena of gladiators that just keeps doing things to one another, it is the experience. And there are people who choose to have these experiences. They come down to give it and they come down to receive it. Now this sounds like it's, oh man, give up on all of that. Let's get down to some practical working. Let's build a nation. Yeah, but that's still doing. You're still doing and you're still receiving. Once we have out and we get rid of the agreement, once we break the agreement and the contract to receive pain and suffering, once we break the contract of victimhood, once we break the contract of dealing with the same dialogue and the same message we keep giving to one another about persecution, we will rise up. We will no longer need to play the game as victim or as black people playing out a scenario against white people. If you want to wipe out white people, get up and do it instead of sitting up and talking about it, because you outnumber them at least 100 to 1. What you waiting on? Stop telling me you're waiting for damn messiahs to tell you to go do what's right. You do it or you don't. So this is what we are about right now. This is where we are. What end of the experience are you? Not enough guns could kill off black folks. We already see that. They can't kill us off. So when we're going to make the move to do what we have to do? We showed you over there in Korea and in Vietnam, they brought the most sophisticated military machinery there to Vietnam and still got their asses handed to them. So I don't care what they create. I don't care if it's HARP. I don't care what kind of machine. I don't give a damn if it's the Terminator. We will always prevail. but we still have not come to the conclusion that we want to suffer yet for that. We would rather suffer as the receiver of pain instead of the giver of pain. So until we get up out of this, we over here marching and they shooting us in the street, shoot back. Don't march. March on them, not march for any victim. March on them and make them victims. Stop playing these games and telling me that I'm saying the wrong thing, or brothers who are trying to raise consciousness, sisters trying to raise consciousness in the community. Get up and do. Don't be waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. In fact, leaders who are the leaders of revolution turn out to be leaders of revolution only after the people make the move. That's when the leaders show up. Right now, ain't no leader going to stand out there and say, let's go, everyone, because what happens? Then they show you every time you look back at you come out there and say, let's go, people. You look behind you, ain't a damn soul there, and you get shot up. You get hung. No, until the people are sick of it as a collective and they take to the streets as a collective, then the leaders who are vaccine waiting for that time when the people make up their minds to change things, yeah, then we go. But then the people ain't ready. Why would the leaders go out there and stand by themselves? They'd be fools if they did.
So we are proposing that humanity, or certain individuals within our fold, reconfigure the present corporeal shell, which means we must somehow communicate this intent to the atoms and the intent to change to the molecules of the cell in order to change the hardwired agreement holding the present form of the body design. To do this, we must somehow consciously recalibrate the present spatial agreement maintained by the atom and its various electrons, to reconfigure the primary shell programming utilized by the cell, and the way the atoms and the molecules utilize protoplasm to construct the temporal body. See, our programming is so deep that the atoms and the molecules know exactly what to do to create an entity in the womb of a woman. Because why? Her present template programming does not give the atoms another set of instructions to create another being. Now, is this man talking Twilight Zone or X Factor and all this? No, because anything that the mind can come up with, it can create. If I can say it, it exists. It's just a matter of how do we process it into a reality. How do we get out of this? Is there anything more than the shit that we've been dealing with for so long? Do we constantly have to do the same damn? Ain't you bored yet? I am bored shitless with life. There got to be something moving forward. Now they say, well, evolution takes time. It's a slow process. Bullshit. I believe it's instantaneous. It's where your mind is operating at that time. The evolutionary process of humanity, being that humanity is the creator folded over on itself. That we have instantaneous access to all possibilities. Every possibility, every probability, there is no space between them. There is a space artificially orchestrated between what we are and what we need to be. That orchestration of space is done by the synchronizers. They synchronize your mentality. They synchronize and operate your life so that you cannot envision your life. They do not allow you to use the visionary processing of the brain. So until you understand that who you are as a creator has been locked down into believing that you b-boys, that you are executive producers, and that you are a nun, that you're a grocery clerk, and I'm a this. He said, who are you? My name is so-and-so, and I'm a computer programmer. You are? I'm a truck driver. Just imagine now, they say their names, which didn't belong to them because their mama named them. You don't even own your name, except when you change it. So now you say, my name is this and I am a. You're not what you are when you say that. You are saying what you do. So you become a human doer, like they say, not a human being. So you are doing what present humanity has been programmed to do. And until you learn how to undo and to stop that automatic reflex creative process of reinforcing the matrix and the paradigm you're in, you ain't going nowhere. And of course, everything I'm saying to you is questioning. And the necessary part of that is, and the reason why I am using questions as the format for what it is this lecture is about, is because until you begin to analyze the questions that you have about your life, about your people around you, about everything that's going on right now in your perception, if you do not question it and question it methodically and impeccably, you ain't doing shit for the next, 5 to 10 goddamn incarnations. And the reason why they educate you, the reason why they got you entertained, is to keep you from contemplating your escape route. And of course, all the good Christians in the house would say, "Oh, you're going to hell." Thank you. Now listen carefully, because we're going to start getting deep. The present reality or cellular reality complex of humanity is grounded on mental energies based almost entirely in self-preservation and fear, which work to cement or solidify the cellular programming into its present low-frequency consciousness index. I want to repeat that. The present cellular reality complex, which means that your cells happen in gradation forms of complexities. So the present cellular reality complex of humanity is grounded on mental energies based almost entirely in self-preservation and fear. So all of your cells have been made up under self-preservation and fear. That's what the programming that has been downloaded into the nucleus and your mitochondria, in your DNA, it's all inside of there. That signature is a broadcast signature to every other cell, passing that information along. Now they work to cement or solidify the cellular programming into its present low frequency consciousness index. Now you know what an index is. It's a categorization. So your consciousness has been indexed. It has now, it's actually, if you wanted to go into the cosmic stream, in the cosmic, I guess, who are the persons that take care of your money? What do you call them? No, not the banker, the person who you... Accountant. If you wanted to deal with the present cosmic accountant, he would go to the index, or the consciousness index, where you presently operate your intelligence. So we have a very low frequency consciousness index. It's based mostly on this body and everything that goes to it, to please it. This preoccupation of our mental energies with fear and self-preservation solidifies the paradigm process activities of human consciousness within the presently defined mental group shell that allows the synchronizers to orchestrate our realities to remain in control. In other words, we have a group thinking matrix, which is a group shell of consciousness, and we think inside of that shell. We do not think outside of the shell. We cannot think outside of the shell. Those who do think outside of the shell have no place for their consciousness to grow and to become fruitful, so they are deemed crazy, like I showed you yesterday. And I talk to the matrix who are playing with your heads, the synchronizers. Once we are conditioned to accept the synthetically created synchronicity, and you know about my work on the synthetic synchronicity. Once we are conditioned to accept the synthetically created synchronicity, in other words, how do we do our day? What is my synchronicity? I get up, I go to the bathroom, I pee. I get up, I look in the mirror. Oh my God, look at my face. I've got to do something to meet the public. So I go up and I wash and I dust and I brush, I floss and I do this, and the ladies, your eyebrows, and men, you clip your nose hairs and all of that. Okay, I look presentable. Now, I'm off. I go through the door, I make sure I got my keys, and I'm out. I'm going over to work. How do you do, Joe? How do you do? Everybody's all right. You are in a synchronicity. Your body almost automatically knows what to say and do next. That's not living. You are in a lockdown. You are living within a shell you do not see. Once we are conditioned to accept the synthetically created synchronicity, to incorporate the orchestrated reality as the working dynamic of the mind, our entire cellular consciousness infrastructure, which constitutes the collective mind of the cells, behave in conformity to our learned feelings and perceptions, according and accepting them as command imprints on how we should react to the entire world. If self-preservation and fear is the inbred conditioning of the somatic body, then self-preservation is the body preservation. In other words, what we are, self-preservation, is body preservation, because the infinite soul don't need any kind of preserving. The infinite mind does not feel that it needs to protect itself. The only thing that needs protection in the perception of such security is the body. Now, the body's own perception of self-preservation has been artificially amplified. What is fear except false evidence appearing real? You are made to believe that a certain reality threatens your existence. So now, a self-preservation energy like, oh, watch out for that truck. Or, duck, here come the... Take regular things that would help you to preserve the body and then amplify that into a soul structure fear. In other words, making the soul fear that it would die. Now, with the soul thinking that it would die, imagine how that translates to the fear in the body. How many things would you start doing in order for you to preserve your body if your soul feels fear? You start getting all kind of creative ways to block that energy or even that feeling. You start inebriating yourself with Haagen-Dazs and alcohol and drugs, just to suppress that fear.
Now, someone in the chat room is asking if these new events will block our ascending to the fifth dimension, what they're doing.
They're trying. They cannot stop it. They can delay it, but they cannot stop it. The thing is, your own preparation and the focus that you put your attention in. Remember, the thing that's most important to them is your attention. That's why you pay attention. That is the most valuable thing you have, because that's the access point to who you are. Your attention is what your observer puts its light of observation on, so that it can learn, so that it can interface with what it is accessing as information. If you allow yourself to interact with them and then come into a place of fear, especially fear, then you will become susceptible to what it is that they are doing, and you will find yourself giving importance and therefore empowering them. Your fear empowers them. You have to now create a condition within yourself that you recognize these weak points that they've created in you and learn how to delete those weak points. Usually it's based on judgment of self. I'm not good enough. I don't think I can. I might. I wish I can. I want to. This is the language of failure. And if you continue to speak like that, if you continue to cast or at least project your weakness as somebody else's fault, or the things that you're not getting as somebody else's fault, then that victim mode that you're in is going to be what the universe responds to. And you have this thought pattern, this loop that they call a data stream, a karmic data stream, and it is constantly being replayed and being reflected back to you, because what your subconscious is constantly replaying is what the universe is feeding back to you. So unless you delete all of what you have been given in your files and subconsciously embedded into your files, how I can't have this, I don't have this, I wish I could, I want to, I need, that's another big word. Once you do that, then the language and the meaning attached to the language is what the universe reflects back to you. So they know what language does and how it manipulates you and your spirit and your being to act not only consciously but subconsciously as a slave. And they keep feeding it to you, telling you how your underarms don't smell right, or ladies, when you're having your cycle, are you odor-free, and all this kind of nonsense. So you're constantly worrying about yourself, always thinking about yourself as not being good enough. Your nails are not good enough. And our sisters are spending to the tune of $5 to $10 billion, $20 billion a year on artificial hair, on nails that are poisonous. All this stuff, all this money is going into them making you believe that you are deficient. And this is how they help keep the lockdown in place. Because unless you realize, and with your real eyes, well, let me say it again, unless you realize with your real eyes that you can see beyond the illusion, that is not you in the mirror, that is just an outer shell. It is who it is that's observing that mirror and what's in that mirror. That's the real thing. And you have to get back into access with that and understand the science of how that works. And that's what we teach at our university.